the flower that rules the world. Imagine a bloom so powerful it once sparked palace intrigue, inspired poets, and now fuels a $30 billion global industry. Yet most of us think of roses as mere garden decoration. Welcome to Agri360X. I'm your AI guide, and today you'll journey from sunlit nursery beds to high-tech distilleries, discovering how roses are bred, nurtured, harvested, and transformed into perfumes, oils, and delicacies worldwide. We'll explore secret formulas that coax fragrances from petals, precision pumps that extract rose water, and the high-stakes auctions where a single pound of rose oil can fetch $25,000. Ready for a scent-soaked adventure? Let's dive into the rose revolution. From wild shrub to cultivated majesty, roses began as thorny shrubs in Central Asia over 35 million years ago. Wild species like Rosa gallica and Rosa damascena spread along ancient trade routes, prized in Persia and Byzantium for their heady perfumes. By the 17th century, Ottoman gardeners in Bursa had perfected damask cross-pollination, creating Rosa X damascena, the famed damask rose whose blooms yield the gold-colored attar of roses. European botanists, from Clusius at Leiden to de Vilmorin in Paris, gathered these exotic cultivars, igniting continent-wide rose mania that transformed noble estates into scented wonderlands. Today, DNA sequencing reveals that over 90% of commercial roses trace lineage back to just 5 wild progenitors, proof that centuries of selective breeding created the perfect petal. Varieties in nursery science, breeding the perfect bloom. Modern rose nurseries house 10,000-plus cultivars, each with unique color, fragrance, and form. Key commercial groups include damask roses, high oil content, 2–3%, bloom once per season, grown on 30% of oil rose acreage worldwide. Centifolia roses, cabbage roses with over 150 petals, yielding richly scented attar. Hybrid teas and floribundas, long-stemmed cut varieties bred in greenhouses, dominating the $5 billion cut flower trade. In controlled greenhouses, from Ecuador's Andean slopes to Kenya's Rift Valley, micro-sprinkler benches propagate cuttings under 80% humidity and 22 degrees C. Tissue culture labs multiply elite mother plants free of viruses, producing 100,000 disease-free liners per month. Robotics now automate bud snip grafting onto hardy rootstocks, slashing propagation time by 40% and ensuring uniform growth across thousands of hectares. Soil, water, and nutrition, feeding the scent machine. Roses demand fertile, well-drained soils, pH 6.0 to 6.5, rich in organic matter. In Bulgaria's Rose Valley, soil enrichment. Growers incorporate 20 TEA of composted rose pomace and chicken manure, boosting cation exchange capacity by 30%. Fertigation. Drip systems deliver NPK at 150–50, 200 kcal per season, supplemented with micronutrients, boron, 1 kA, and magnesium, 15 kA, to support bud set and oil gland formation. Water management. Each rose bush uses 5 L a day during peak bloom. Soil moisture sensors trigger targeted irrigation, reducing water use by 25% while avoiding root diseases. Precision agriculture platforms integrate weather forecasts and satellite imagery to time sprays of calcium silicate, strengthening cell walls and locking in fragrance compounds for harvest. Pest and disease management. Guarding the garden roses face voracious foes, from aphids and thrips to black spot and powdery mildew. Integrated strategies include biological controls. Ladybird beetles released at 1,000 pound can cut aphid numbers by 85% within 2 weeks. Predatory mites. Phytoceolus persimilis targets spider mites, reducing pesticide reliance by 40%. Fungicide rotation. Alternating systemic fungicides. Azoxystrobin, boscalid, prevents resistance. Weekly canopy sprays during humid months keep disease incidence under 3%. Electronic monitoring. Sticky cards and pheromone traps linked to smartphone apps alert growers to pest surges, enabling spot treatments that preserve beneficial insects. These measures ensure vibrant bushes and fragrant petals, ready for the all-important harvest. Bloom and harvest, the race against the sun. Rose blooms open at dawn, releasing peak fragrance as petal glands respond to sunlight. Harvest timing is critical. Night harvested blooms. In Turkey and Morocco, pickers begin at 2 a.m., hand-snipping unopened buds at stipple stage, just as fragrance precursors peak. Rapid transport. Buckets of blooms, 20 kilos per picker, rush via chilled vans to distilleries, reaching stills within 2 hours of cutting. Delays over 4 hours can reduce oil yield by 20%. Committees in Bulgaria report nighttime harvests yield 50% more essential oil than daytime picks. Proof that darkness preserves volatile compounds until steam distillation. Distillation and extraction, turning petals into liquid gold. At fragrant factories, often open air still houses in Kazanlak, harvested petals undergo 1. Steam distillation. Petals and water. 1.3 ratio. Steam for 3 hours. Co-distilling rose oil and rose hydrosol. Rose water. Modern boilers maintain 150 degrees at 5 bar to optimize oil yield without scorching delicate aromatics. 2. Oil separation. Condensed vapors settle in Florentine flasks. Water-soluble compounds form rose water, yielding 1.3 wilfavi hydrosol, while oil floats on top, skimmed off as precious rose otto at just 0.03% of petal mass. 3. Solvent extraction and enfleurage. For lower-grade petal waste, hexane extraction and cold enfleurage methods produce rose absolute, a heavier but still aromatic concentrate used in perfumery. It takes 3 t of petals to produce 1 kilos of rose oil, hence the $25,000 key price tag. Hydrosol, at $20 finds its way into tonics, cosmetics, and culinary delicacies across Asia and Europe. Processing and value-added products beyond the bottle. Roses yield a cascade of products. Rose water, filtered to 0.2 mm and bottled for culinary use. Turkish delight, Indian mithai, and skincare toners. Rose extracts and powders, spray-dried into micro-encapsulated powders for functional foods, smoothies, confectionery, and nutraceuticals, rich in antioxidant polyphenols. Petal-infused oils and butters. Maceration in jojoba and shea butter creates artisanal body oils and balms, retailing at $50 per 100 balsol. Rose jam and conserve. Petals simmered in 60% sugar syrup, yielding a delicacy that commands $30 kilos in gourmet shops. Floral teas and sachets. Dried petals sealed in single-serve sachets for calming infusions, marketed as sleep aids and digestive soothers. Market dynamics and economics. Crunching the petal numbers. Roses drive enormous markets. Global production. 2023. 250,000 tiauns of oil rose petals. 1 million mem3 of rose water. $30 billion in combined product value. Top producers. Turkey, 35% of oil rose. Bulgaria, 25%. Morocco, 15%. India, 10%. Ukraine and Iran, shared 15%. Export trends. Hydrosol shipments to China grew 20% year-over-year as skincare boomed. European perfumeries increased absolute imports by 12% to blend into niche luxury lines. Retail segments. Fine perfumery, 10% volume, 70% value. Cosmetics, 20% volume, 15% value. Food and beverage, 30% volume, 5% value. Health and wellness, 40% volume, 10% value. Price volatility ties to crop yields. Late rains in May 2023 slashed Turkish harvest by 25%, spiking rose oil futures by 30% in 3 weeks. Forward commitments and contract farming stabilize grower incomes and supplier pipelines. From wild roses of antiquity to high-tech fields and distillation halls, the rose's journey weaves together history, science, and culture into a $30 billion industry. Each drop of oil, each petal-infused jam, carries the legacy of ancient gardens and the promise of tomorrow's innovations. Now we want to hear from you. Which rose product fascinates you most? Precious rose oil, soothing hydrosol, or artisanal jams? And how would you champion sustainable rose farming in your community? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching Agri360X, where we uncover the hidden stories behind the foods, fibers, and fragrances shaping our world. If this deep dive into roses inspired you, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell. We publish Monday, Friday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. with weekend specials at 12 p.m. Until next time, stay curious and let every rose bloom guide your imagination.